Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing again. Believe in a power greater than what you are going through. When you don't know what to do, keep breathing.
That's right. When you don't know what to do, just keep on breathing. From the City of Angels in Los Angeles, welcome to all my listeners out there in Radio Land. I am Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver, at caregiverdave.com, along with my lovely co-host, a former mayor of a California beach town and best-selling author, Debbie Peterson. And we're coming to you live and on demand 24/7 on numerous syndicated radio and podcast networks on 26, count them, 26 global audio video platforms, including iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Vimeo. I'm not going to go on and on. They're all there, trust me. And in fact, we're proud to be voted #1 caregiver podcast on FeedSpot out of thousands. That's like the Nielsen ratings for podcasts, and #1 caregiver podcast on Player FM of the top 50. And we have an especially exciting show planned for you today. Don't we, Debbie?
We sure do. Looking forward to talking to Kimberly.
The transformative power of your breath. And we're all about breath here. And we met somebody who's also all about breath. So it's a good marriage, so to speak. Kimberly Faith is a powerful healer in the holistic industry. She proudly forges her unique path through life, through unconventional breath work and experiences. She encourages others to explore their inner selves, break free from societal norms like she did with her hair, and embrace their true potential. Her sessions lead participants on a transformative journey, fostering deeper joy and fulfillment. But before we get started, I do want to take this moment and thank my last week's guest, Michelle Magner, has a passion for connecting with people as we navigate the adventures of aging and caregiving. And just a reminder, you can watch or listen to that interview and all our interviews on our membership website, caregiverdave.com, or any of our other 25 global networks, 26 actually. And I mentioned earlier, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTubes, and so on. Well, Kimberly, welcome to the Caregiver Dave Show. We are so excited to have you on.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you guys for, I'm so glad we got to connect. I'm so glad to be here and chat. And I love that your theme song has breath and breathing in it.
Yes. In fact, I remember now we met because my last week's guest, who was a great guest, she recommended you and we put it together really fast, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We threw it together really fast. Michelle is a good friend of mine.
See, and I have this saying, and it's a true saying, that successful people make their minds up very quickly and change their minds very slowly, whereas unsuccessful people do the opposite. They make their minds up very slowly and they change their minds very frequently. So
that's really good.
We know what kind you are now. Well, yeah. I do like to start off my show, and I like to ask people who haven't been here before, just who is Kimberly Faith and why was she placed on this earth?
That is a great question. And yes, we will be talking about all the things breath, of course. And the reason I believe I am placed here on this earth is my big mission above the breath work, above inner healing and all that, is I want more than anything in the world, people to feel seen, heard, known, valued, and loved. Sure, wonderful. I use different vehicles to get there.
Heard, but known, valued, loved. Got it.
Yeah.
Is that's an acronym for that or no?
I was playing with that. I was playing with that. I'm like, oh man, I need to come up with like a cool sentence. So it is an acronym.
Well, let's talk about breath since that's what you're all about. Why breath?
Breath, it's really interesting. My story with breath is I was at a retreat for a coaching group we were part of, and I had my first breathwork session that's where you go really deep in for an hour, and it was completely transformative. It changed the trajectory of my life. I had a powerful vision, a powerful experience, extremely transformative, and I came out of it like, whoa, everybody needs to do this. And like you were saying earlier, action takers. 3 weeks later, I was flying across the world to Spain to get certified as soon as possible so that I can bring this modality to other people.
And why Spain?
Because I researched several different programs, and that one seemed the most aligned for me and my value system and with the education they offered. So so I got certified, and in this process, I just started digging more into not only breath work, but breathing and breathing techniques, and how so often, especially in today's modern society and stress, especially with caregivers and all that stress, how you can use your breath and how we underutilize the power of our breath to really to change a situation and change our energetic in a situation.
Yeah, singers know the importance of breath, don't they?
Fact. They do. In fact, one of the people in my class in Spain, he was an opera singer.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Debbie, you got something you want to ask?
Well, yeah.
You're a breather, aren't you, Debbie? Aren't you a breather?
Sorry?
You're a breather.
Oh, I am. Yeah. In fact, every Monday night I go to a restorative yoga class. And of course, all the yoga classes deal with breath. And there's so many different ways you can use your breath. And I don't know how it happens, but I know that if you breathe into that part of your body in a posture, it works. That's intention. So anyway, I'm telling your story, but I am with you all the way on. Are you going to give us some help today? Are you going to teach us a thing or two about what caregivers can do to relax?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Yeah. I figure, we can take it any direction, but I always like to leave people with some tools that they can employ at any part of their day. Like I have people texting me. I had a girl text me yesterday. She's like, I'm so nervous. I'm getting ready to go in this interview. So it wasn't a caregiver situation. However, she was super nervous. And she's like, do you have any advice? And I was like, girl, you're coming to the right person. So I talked her through some breathing exercises, and she messaged me this morning. She's like, that helped so much. It changed everything. So yes, I will be here to deliver the goods on some of those breathing techniques.
Well, the most important thing for caregivers is stress, because stress kills 30% of caregivers die before their loved ones do because of the stress. If it's a dementia patient, which I'm currently watching my aunt who has dementia, and she's so much easier than my wife who only has a stroke. And I can just feel myself aging, and I say, wait a minute, you're the caregiver's caregiver, you know how to handle this? Just relax. Don't take anything that comes out of her filthy mouth personal.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, you guys have so much stress. And the more I dug into caregivers, because I spoke at another caregivers event 2 weeks ago, the more I learned, the more I did my research, just the statistics are staggering on what caregivers have to go through. 40 to 70% of caregivers suffer from depression, and obviously higher anxiety. And it was just mind blowing to me how large your hearts are to show up for your loved ones, and B, just the numbers and how much stress, anxiety, and the things it leads to, because you're forced to go on this emotional roller coaster every single day, not knowing what the day is going to deliver to you, and we end up breathing right here. Okay, got to make quick decisions.
I have a couple of siblings, older brother, older sister. And they really haven't been caregivers like I have. I've been doing this for 27 years because my wife had a stroke. Yeah. So last 2 weeks ago, my sister's boyfriend comes back from a fishing trip in Costa Rica, and he trips, and he believes that he strained his groin muscle or tendon or something. So he's like resting. He didn't go to the doctor, and it's been like over a week. And the pain's getting worse, so he finally goes to the doctor, and guess what he broke? Broke his hip. He's going to need a hip replacement. And he's 65. And I always tell people, if you're not a caregiver, they tune you out. Oh, that doesn't happen. Just wait. It's inevitable. You'll either become one or you'll need one.
Oh, God, absolutely.
And my sister learned that really fast.
Oh, wow. That's life-shifting right there. Whew.
So let's talk about how can caregivers who are stressed out and, have anxiety how can breathing help them, and how?
Sure. Well, let's take it a step back and talk about your nervous system, your automatic nervous system. We have your sympathetic, which is your fight or flight, right? When you jump into, especially as caregivers, all throughout the day, when you're delivered with these situations or decisions that you have to be made, you're launched into the sympathetic nervous system, which is highly stressful. And then you have your parasympathetic, which is rest, restore, digest, repair. That's the right. And in a perfect world, what happens is your sympathetic gets activated, and then your parasympathetic, once you're through whatever crisis situation that is, your parasympathetic then takes over, and it's a dance. It's a balancing act. And it's not a perfect world, especially for caregivers and the people you serve. So what ends up happening is the sympathetic, and the parasympathetic never has a chance to even catch up. So you're in that constant state of fight or flight and stress. And then if you don't deliberately and intentionally take the time to use your breath and do things, and breath isn't the only thing, it's just, my thing. Mm-hmm. If you don't take the time to regulate your nervous system, you're constantly in overdrive. It affects, and that's why you're end up anxious, depressed, you can't sleep, can't think clearly, all that stuff. So that's why deep breathing, when you learn to do some of these techniques, when you learn to just, for starters, become more aware of your breath. Awareness is a big thing. When we're living in this state, how do we breathe? Okay, you're living from here, chest breathing, right? When we can activate the breath and bring in more deep breathing, like from the diaphragm, from the gut, what that does is that activates it activates the vagus nerve, which runs from the bottom of the spine to the back of the neck, and it sends signals to your brain that everything's okay. You can relax, you can rest. So what that does, when you deep belly breathe, slow down your breathing significantly, it sends that signal to your brain to chill out. It also sends more oxygen to your thinking brain, so you can make clearer decisions. You can feel more grounded when you're in that place of caregiving. Like, okay, you feel more equipped to better serve your loved ones.
Yeah. So I'm sure you do seminars or teaching events, one-on-one or whatever. I don't know, but you'll tell us. Why don't you do like a 3-minute sample of you're in front of a client and you're going to help us to de-stress. Just go ahead and do it, and we'll follow you, and whoever's listening will do what you say. You're not going to hypnotize us, right?
Yeah. No. Before we jump into that, there's these breathing techniques, which I'll walk you through. There's also breath work, when you go deep in. So I do a lot of breath work classes where you get like, you intentionally activate the sympathetic. So I'm not going to do what I do in a typical class for you guys, because we want to bring you down, not psych you up. Okay.
Why do you call it the sympathetic?
The sympathetic, what that does is that addresses a little bit more of getting fully into your body and helping to unlock trauma. We store traumas throughout our bodies, especially as caregivers. Some of the stuff you've seen and heard, you can't unsee, you can't unhear. So what that does is it peels back the onion layers of some of these traumas, the stress, the stuff you store in your body. It's healing from the ground up.
So we're trying to be sympathetic to ourself and our plight?
Sympathetic we're just talking about nervous system, not sympathetic as like sympathy.
Oh.
Yeah, we're talking strictly like on a medical level now. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Continue.
So then,
yes,
there are like 2 different nerve systems. Is that right?
Yes. So it's all under the automatic nervous system. You have the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, and we want them to dance more equally. So, all right. So you want to do a great breath that is really, really easy to remember, is called, and if you were to look up breathwork on Google, it would probably be one of the most popular ones that would show up, something that you can employ if you're sitting in traffic, if you're with your loved one, if you're in the hospital, whatever the case. You'll breathe in. Now, remember, we're pulling all from our diaphragm, right? We're not pulling from the chest, we're pulling from the gut. Okay. So I'll talk you through first. We'll breathe in for a count of 4 through our nose. We'll hold for a count of 4. We'll exhale through our mouth for a count of 4, and then we'll hold again. Okay, so let's do that together. I'll be counting you through it, so I could do some of the breathing, but okay. So I want you to breathe in through the nose. In, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Now hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale through the mouth. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. And hold. 2, 3, 4. And you would just repeat that cycle over and over. If you could do that at least 5 to 10 times, you're in a much better regulated state.
Yeah. What's the purpose of holding after you exhale? Because I don't think anyone's ever told me to do that.
Oh, that's magic and that's bliss. In my breathwork sessions.
Oh, good.
Oh, yes. In my breathwork sessions, we hold our breath with no air in our lungs. And some people panic at the thought of that because it's like, it's not a sensation that you're used to. When you think of holding your breath, you think, oh, it's not that at all. It's exhale, hold. So what happens there is basically our stem cells, which of course are the magic juice of the body, hide out in our bone marrow because they hate oxygen, right? when we exhale all of our air out and we hold with no air in the lungs, what that does is that increases our CO2 tolerance. When we do that, it awakens the stem cells, and then it sends healing to the body where the body needs healing, because the body knows where to send the healing. So when we hold our breath with no air in the lungs, we're increasing that CO2 tolerance.
I was also surprised that it wasn't hard to hold your breath. You first think is, oh my gosh, I got to breathe or I'm going to die.
They call that air hunger. And when you feel in your chest, because in my classes, we'll hold our breath for anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute and a half. And that's when you really get launched into outer space. It's an amazing feeling. And you sometimes have that feeling like panic. What I tell people in classes is if you can, because people are laying down, if you can relax into it and just relax into that stress and tension, you'd be shocked at how long you can hold your breath. People, when they come out of it, they're like, I can't believe I held my breath that long. And
this is with air in their lungs or air not in their lungs?
Air out of their lungs. I do start the breath holds with holding your breath for like full lungs with like for 10 seconds or so. But the real breath hold, the real magic is holding with no air in the lungs.
Yeah, I'm trying it. It is amazing how long you do that.
It's so amazing
down too. It's like, just shut this thing down.
Yes. And there's breaths that you can deploy, like if you're having a trouble sleeping. I know, I'm sure as caregivers, you're probably up in the wee hours of the night or you get woken up suddenly. There's a breath that you could do. It's called the 4-7-8 breath. And what that is you breathe in through the nose for a count of 4. You hold for a count of 7. Then you exhale for a count of 8 out of the mouth. And they call that like a sleep breath. And if you do that a few times, you'll start yawning. You'll get tired. You'll fall asleep.
Oh, I'm ready to go to sleep now.
I shouldn't have done that one for this show. and another thing I do like to tell people, because there's these numbers. It's like if you go online and look up breathwork and breathing techniques, there's like the 4-7-8 and the box breath and the 4-2-6 and all these numbers. At the end of the day, what I tell people, if you can't remember how long you're supposed to count or breathe in or exhale or whatever, just a nose mouth breath, because that's a grounding breath, right? And and pull that air from the diaphragm, of course. And the longer you can make the exhale, the better. As long as your exhales are longer than your inhales, you will start to activate that parasympathetic nervous system.
What's the purpose of breath works? What's the purpose of breathing exercises?
To take you, that's a very big question. Breathing exercises, usually to calm you down or to initiate certain feelings, like to calm you down or to rev you up. Like if you breathe through the nose, there's a breath called breath of fire. That's if you need to feel energized, where you're like pumping. I'm sure as a yogi, breath of fire very well. So there are breaths that you could use to fire yourself up. Breath work is when you really want to tackle the big issues. I do breath work for healing. I do breath work. A lot of times it when you do these breath holds, it pauses everything in your mind and you're like an open channel for ideas. I've had people experience tons of physical healing. I could go on forever about that. You feel bliss. It literally takes you to altered states of consciousness when you really take the time to do breath work and you jump in a session. Like I do free online sessions, free virtual sessions monthly. And it's really cool. People are like, whoa, I had no idea like my breath could do that.
Yeah. Debbie, anything? Any questions?
Well, I just keep thinking I live in Hawaii part-time and I love to snorkel, but I can't dive. I just cannot breathe underwater. And I don't know the origins of that, but I'm not scared. I just can't do it. Yeah. And I don't frighten that easily. So when I snorkel, I did get myself to snorkel though. And as part of trying to get past that fear, but when I snorkel, I do my breath work because sometimes you get out there in the water and the waves are huge and there's animals and you see fish and eels or sometimes you get excited or you need to go fast to beat the tide. And I always do my breath work when I'm doing that. I even do some yoga when I'm floating.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's just the most wonderful experience, but it also keeps me calm so that if an issue arises when the tide starts to pull me out or a big wave comes or whatever, or I choke, the breathing work really keeps me very relaxed and able to cope with whatever panics can sometimes come in that situation.
100%. And when you shift your focus to whatever stressful situation you're in, whether it's, with your loved ones or turbulence on a plane or swimming and snorkeling in the ocean with whatever the case is, you're in the stressful situation, or you can be. When you shift the focus and your awareness from the situation to your breath, it's like a pattern interrupt. Your body, your mind on a chemical level is like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. I am good. I am okay.
Yeah, it takes me to, okay, how do I manage this? All right, whatever. Let's figure it out.
Yeah. Huge pattern interrupt.
Yeah. So how often do we do this? Do we do this constantly? We do it like 3 times a day? What's the timetable?
I would say, with the 4-7-8 or the box breath, whenever you need it. Whenever you need it, I would recommend maybe even in the morning before you start your day, just taking a couple minutes, even if you only have 1 or 2 minutes to do like a box breath. It kind of resets you a little bit. I personally do breath work every morning for at least 15 minutes where I intentionally activate my sympathetic nervous system because I find it helps with ideas, it helps with focus and clarity, emotional balance. So I may do more than the average bear, but if you could just take a couple minutes each day to just tap in to your breath, bring your awareness to your breath, bring some gratitude and focus because face it, your breath is your only true addiction. Our breath is medicine. Our breath is life. It's the first thing we do when we come out of the womb, and it's the last thing we do before we leave this earth. So taking some time to have gratitude for your breath.
That is so true. I forgot what I was going to say. I had it on my tongue.
It occurs to me, Dave, one of the things, I'll interrupt while you're thinking. One of the things that I really appreciate now is having had asthma as I age. All of a sudden, breath is a whole new thing. Getting air in and filling your lungs is simply, it's really regenerating and encouraging and freeing and takes away fear, but wonderful. So I appreciate that you say that it is the first, the alpha and the omega.
Yeah.
It is. And I think once people take the time to become more aware of their breath, or even if they do like a breathwork session, they realize that they have this magical tool within them that is always available and it's free. It's like, whoa, I didn't even know, like I have this all the time. I don't think we give enough appreciation a lot of times for our breath.
Well, thank you for that pause. I did remember what I wanted to say. It was a lot of caregivers are tired all the time. And lately, it seems like I'm tired all the time. lot of times I feel like, okay, I need 8 hours, but I'm only going to get 6 hours. So I'm going to wake up tired. I'm going to trudge through the day tired. Can this help tired people if we're not getting the hours that we need for whatever reason? It's unavoidable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's when I would deploy. It's called like a DMT breath. It was also in through the nose and out through the mouth, but a little quicker.
And that'll wake us up, right?
Yeah, it'll stimulate. It'll get the blood flowing. It'll hyperoxygenate the body. It'll alkalize the blood, and you're like, whew. Yeah. So taking some time, but be really intentional about it. Not kind of passively in the shower or driving. Like if you're going to do a little bit of breath work, like do the breath work. Or
Should
like
we
I said,
be moving also? Should we move the body?
That's always helpful. I've seen in my breathwork sessions, like I said, people are laying down. Everything from people wanting to be still, because breathwork, each journey will deliver to you exactly what you need. And sometimes that's peace. And sometimes that's a somatic release. The body needs to move. And I have seen people kick and punch and that's great. That's wonderful, because your body, when you activate the breath knows how to go deeper than the mind. It'll tell you, oh, my body needs to move. You're moving energy. That's the key. And as a caregiver with so much stress and anxiety and just all the things you go through, there's a lot of energy to be moved. A lot. And you can move that with your breath and with somatic movement, which is not to be confused with dancing. Dancing is, rhythmic and whatever. Somatic movement is your body just needs to move that energy.
Wow. So we're running out of time. So I want to give you an opportunity to talk about what we haven't talked about yet in the few minutes that we have left.
Yeah. Well, I would love for anyone who's curious to go to, I'm at thebreathworkgirl.com, thebreathworkgirl.com. There is free classes that I offer monthly, like I said before, and it really, they're an hour long. You could really go deep. You can really be like
online.
Yep, they're virtual. Yep. And I have people all over the country join those. So those are really fun. Those are introductory classes. And there's also a bunch of free resources on my website. Like if you wanted to download sheets on different styles of breath. And I have videos to walk you through different styles of breath so you can experience it for yourself. So I'd invite anyone to just dive into it. It would be super fun to be able to serve you in that capacity, especially as caregivers. You give so much of yourself. You are so selfless and you have such large hearts. So it would be really neat to be able to serve you.
Thank you. How kind of you. I just can't believe how fast our time has gone today. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Is there a way that people can get a hold of you or find out more about you? Or if you have a book, get your book. I don't know if you have a book. Do you have a book?
I actually do have a book. It's not about breath. I do have a book. Everything about me, my connections to my social media, how to contact me, it's all on thebreathworkgirl.com. That's just the simplest, easiest way to remember. I send out inspirational messages if you want to sign up for the email list, whatever, but it's all there at thebreathworkgirl.com. Nice and easy.
When are you going to write that book about breath?
That's a great question.
I'm brand. Yeah.
It is my new brand. I don't know if I'll write another book about breath. Right now, I'm really focusing on serving people in different ways in retreats and sessions, because I also do retreats for people, especially caregivers that feel like.
How long do they last, and where are they at?
Reno. I actually have one coming up in April. It's a women's retreat for women who want to feel seen, heard, known, valued, and loved, where I just pour into them for 2.5 days at my home. We do breath work and we do all kinds of super neat adventures and experiences, but it's all a surprise.
How many women is it limited to?
I actually have 2 spots left. I like to keep it small. I like to keep it to 6 people or less, because it really keeps it intimate and it allows people to get that one-on-one attention.
You want to share the cost? What does it cost to do that?
And the cost, when I spoke at the summit for caregivers the other week, it was $2,000. And for caregivers, I was offering a $500 discount. So I will honor that for your listeners as well.
That's great.
So that would be $1,500 for everything.
Great. And it's a 2-day event, right?
Yep, they would come in on a Thursday to Reno here. That's kind of just a welcome day. We
Sure.
retreat Friday and Saturday, and then Sunday would just be a closing breakfast.
And so you feed them.
Yep, I do. It includes, like I said, includes lodging because you stay at my home.
Okay.
It includes airport transfers. It includes food, activities, gifts, all the things.
Sounds like it's a popular event at your house. That's good.
Oh, we have a great time.
Mhm. Well, Debbie, how can our listeners get a hold of you to find out all the wonderful things you're doing?
The
Especially
easiest way.
during election time now.
Oh yeah, yeah. I work with folks who need to shape up their local government, take part and make some things happen, make good things happen. And the best way is mayordebbie.com. And that will connect you to whole lots of things, all my books and podcasts, whatever you need.
That's where corruption can start, isn't it? At the small school board levels, city council levels, they just don't get corrupt overnight. When they
no.
Governor or senator, they've had lots of practice.
Yeah, that's right. Lots of practice. And we give it to them. So we got a chance to take that away and make it better.
All right, if you want to get a hold of me, I'm at caregiverdave.com, my Facebook page, Caregiver Dave. I've got 34,000 friends and followers, and they help out. It's a community support group. We have videos, we have blogs, we have all sorts of things to help caregivers not just survive caregiving, but to thrive. And again, a reminder, all our live shows become recorded pod and video casts on our platforms, mentioned before. And I like to say that if you click the like or follow button on whatever platform you're watching or listening on, it helps us reach even more caregivers by improving Google's search engine algorithms. So again, to all my listeners out there, thank you again for tuning in, same time, same channel every week. Until next time, may God richly bless you. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye-bye. I'm Dave Nasani. My fourth book, Secrets from the Hammock, Uncommon Wisdom for Uncommon Times, is a #1 bestseller on Amazon. As a young boy, I was told I possessed an unusual amount of wisdom for my age. As a young man, I found myself counseling friends and older family members whenever they needed answers to their problems. Then at 21, I read the Bible for the very first time and learned how King Solomon asked God for wisdom instead of riches, yet he received both. I was so impressed that I too asked God for wisdom. Soon after, I discovered when lying on my hammock, I would receive wisdom from God. This book is the result of my passion to share with the world wisdom's tremendous benefits. Join me as I reveal practical aspects of wisdom for the mind, body, and spirit. 31 lessons I learned from God that can change your life. Available in hardcover, Audible, Kindle, and paperback, wherever books are sold. I've spoken all over the country and London, and am available to speak at your event. Contact me at hammockwisdom.com.
Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing.